Just what did it feel like to strike right away like that?
It was good. Boys came out swinging. That was a fun atmosphere. That's what you want to play in. But so anytime you got Max Fried on the mound, you try to get one or two runs, kind of get an early lead, and kind of let him do the rest.
You mentioned Fried. This is the first time we've kind of seen him struggle a little bit this season. Just overall, how do you think he'll be able to bounce back, and what did you think of him tonight?
He's going to be fine. I wouldn't say that's struggling. He's been the best pitcher in the game all year, and he's going up against a great ball club with, it's going to put up some great at-bats against you, all night long. So he went out there and battled. You're going to have games like this, but we got all the confidence in the world in Max and what he's able to do, and looking forward to him being out there in another 5 days.
How much do you look at the guy on the other side in Shohei Ohtani and try to kind of match him and what he's doing? You hit the home run, he hits the home run, you hit a double, making some plays in the outfield.
I felt like he was copying me. I started no, it's just he's impressive. He's one of the best players in the game for a reason. What he can do in the box, on the base path, once he gets back on the mound, it's special. But it's really just about two good ball clubs going after it, and we weren't able to come away with a win there, but we'll be ready to go tomorrow.
Is there extra excitement at all when it's MVP versus MVP as a kind of a sideshow to Yankees-Dodgers?
Try not to think about it. I got a job to do on the field. I got to make plays, score some runs for the team. You try not to get too hyped into that. That's for you guys to do, and I got a job to do on the field.
Yeah, you had extra to play the Dodgers because they were the World Series. Obviously, they're a good team always, but the fact that they were the World Series combatant, does that play into your thoughts as the game's going on?
Not really. It's people are asking about if it's personal, this and that. Every game we play is personal. It doesn't matter who we're playing. We just got done with the series against the Angels. That series was personal. So just like these games, every game matters. We weren't able to come away with a win here, but it's time to bounce back and get them tomorrow.
Well, you played right field, Teoscar. That ball looked like it was headed for the gap. Did you think you had a chance at it?
Yeah, off the bat, I thought I had a chance, but I had to peek last minute for Grish. You got a Gold Glover in center field. You try to let him do his thing out there, but he was kind of giving it to me. So you got to make a play in that situation. Max has been bailing us out all year long, with what he's been doing on the mound. So you get an opportunity to make a play, you got to do it.
Did it feel like a playoff game for you out there tonight? The crowd and
anywhere we play, it's a playoff atmosphere. We're just in Anaheim, same thing. You got 42,000 on their feet screaming and yelling. So it's fun. This is baseball. It's Yankees baseball, and especially going against the Dodgers. They're having a great season, a great start to the season. So it's just a fun atmosphere out there.
Could you feel a momentum shift in that sixth inning? It seemed like you guys were in control the first five.
Well, it's tough. I think that was probably the third time going through the order. You got the top of the lineup coming up with Shohei, and that top of the lineup that's tough to deal with. You don't want to put them on because the middle of the lineup's going to drive them in. So it was a tough inning there, but we really didn't feel a momentum shift. There was a lot of ball game left there. Just weren't able to capitalize late when we got a couple guys on.
What impresses you most about Shohei?
Just the consistency, year after year, continue to go up there and, put up the numbers he does every single at bat. You don't know if he's going to, rip a ball to me in right field, or if he's going to, take a, Max Fried first pitch heater, opposite field like that. It's just impressive what he can do. Just consistently day in and day out, shows up. He's out there for his team doing his thing. So I think just the consistency over the years.
His second home run was rather high, but I guess you realized right away that it was going to be close to out.
Yeah, I thought I had a chance off the bat. I was like, okay, this is going to be one at the wall or rob it. But then it, just either the way he spun it or what happened, it just kept carrying out. So that's why he's one of the best home run hitters out there, and he gets them all. It doesn't matter, how far he hits it or how short he hits it. They all count the same. So that was a tough one right there. But like I said, we had some opportunities to capitalize there late and just couldn't get it done.
Aaron, did you realize Max was this good until he came here?
I knew Max was always this good just from seeing him on TV, watching him with the Braves, watching them on their World Series run, what he was able to do. But now getting a chance to see him up close and kind of see the total package, the work he puts in, the homework he's doing. We sit by each other on the flights, and he's on his laptop going over scouting reports, notes, taking his own notes. It's he's one of a kind, and just a class act guy in the clubhouse. Just being a great leader. Kind of a good mentor to a lot of these young pitchers we have. So, we're lucky to have him, and looking forward to what he does over the next 6 years, 6, 7 years.
Too far ahead, but what's it going to be like when you have Garrett totally held and ready to pitch, and those two guys going back to back?
It's going to be a exciting time, that's for sure. But like you said, I don't try to look too far ahead. Played a tough game tonight, and we got to get ready for tomorrow's afternoon game and take care of business.
Max said he did not take this. This does not sit well with him, this loss. Do you like seeing that mentality in a guy? He doesn't lose a game all year, and he loses one, and he's like not happy at all about it.
That's why he signed here. He wanted to sign here to play in big games, play in big moments. Play for the best team, and he takes everything personal, and that's what you want out of your your ace right now. And it's we feed off that energy. We feed off this energy all year long, and I know he's gonna come back ready to go. I know that for sure.
Your own history against the Dodgers is pretty spectacular. Your stats are very, very good, better than any other team. And their pitching is excellent. Is there any explanation? Is there anything getting up for the games, or the ballpark, or anything that you can think of?
It's tough to say. I like playing on the West Coast. I like playing in big games like this. It's always fun. I really have no answer for you. I just try to go out there and do what I can today, and leave it all on the field, and whatever happens, happens.
That's not you growing up a Giants fan and hating the Dodgers?
I won't mention that. But it might be.